All right, thank you everyone for joining. I'm really excited to talk to you all about five mistakes that you're making that could be costing you commission on LinkedIn. Over the last, 2, 3 years for me, I've been specializing in LinkedIn lead gen services and really helping people generate leads on LinkedIn effectively. It's been a great experience, and I've met so many great people, founders, um, individual contributors up to founders and CEOs. And yeah, I've really valued the experience, and I've noticed that there's similar questions on Reddit, on LinkedIn, just on how you use LinkedIn effectively and really drive business to like earn more in revenue for your company or earn more in commission for your personal pocket. All great questions. LinkedIn's a quirky platform. There's a billion users on it. So what does that really mean? Large TAM. I like to call it LinkedIn TAM. So thinking about, is your TAM actually on LinkedIn? Everyone knows their TAM. They probably have call lists, email lists, maybe even some LinkedIn lists. But I think the idea is what's your LinkedIn TAM? You can do this by, filtering, doing a basic search on LinkedIn into your target audience title, geography, however you like to narrow down your list, and then taking a look at that TAM. Now, who from that TAM is actually active is where you kind of vet, kind of like you would if you're doing email, watching the open rates, or if you're cold calling and seeing who's actually picking up. So there's different metrics that I like to take a look at for LinkedIn. It's the ultimate warming platform. Four things I look at it pretty simple is connection rates, acceptance rates, who's accepting. Number two is response rates. So who's actually responding to the messages that you're sending, and then conversion to meeting, conversion to revenue from there. Those four metrics have kind of been the holy grail for me in terms of, is something off with my search? Are people not getting back to me because of the messaging? Why, how, and then of course, kind of figuring out how to troubleshoot from there. So, I thought it'd be fun on this webinar to kind of exploit a little bit about what I even put here on the webinar as to what you can figure out from joining this webinar, which was obviously understand the mistakes people are making. What are those? Yes, effective messaging. Yes, your profile needs to be optimized. Yes, you need to build a quality network. Yes, you need to build that network, you need to know the filtering, Boolean searches, all those things. So I want to talk about all those things, but I'm a really simple kind of guy. My brain processes things like pretty logically, but very simply. So I'm pretty tactical. And so that's what I wanted to do with these. You hear a lot of schools of thought on how to first things first, like how to optimize your profile. I've boiled it down to really simple. Um, you know, I think I probably read this somewhere, and it's just my how my brain works too when I'm viewing. A lot of the ways when I'm like, how do I optimize my profile, or how do I like create messaging that works? The number one thing I ask myself, and I'm very, very honest, is would I actually like engage with this? Like if I was the target audience, of course. So I'll share my screen so that you can see a little bit more examples of what I am discussing here. So now that you can see my screen, you can see my profile here, and I'll zoom in a bit, right? So what do I mean by optimizing profile? I think, okay, what does Michael Alexander do? And I try to understand that in 10 seconds or less. This is my philosophy across the board whenever I'm coaching, talking to people about their LinkedIn. This is the number one thing. Like I think the top piece, this big square here of your profile is absolutely the most important part. And you can have fun with it. I've added some humanization here because I met, I'm with my wife here, the love of my life, right? That's who I am, right? Essentially, like, and then, what is it that I do? Like, I help burned out sales reps get leads through LinkedIn. Pretty easy to understand, very digestible. You can know in 5 seconds or less that I help simplify all outreach, and then I help burned out sales reps get leads through LinkedIn. So if you're a sales rep, and I ask myself, easy for me to do because I am a sales rep, but even if you're not, whoever your whoever your target audience is that you're going after, just think about, is this appealing to them? Would you actually click on this? Burned out is a key word for me, personally. Like I care a lot about the mental health side of things and the mindset in sales and philosophy and just being consistent, being a top performer. What does it take mentally? So the fact that, in this case, right, I'm complimenting myself, but the idea is that I like the focus on burned out sales reps. If it just said I help sales reps get leads through LinkedIn, I'd still be interested. It's a good hook. I think it's stronger the more descriptive you can be and more targeted you can be. So obviously, I think you get the point here. Where I see common mistakes and people missing out here is that obviously it's just hard to understand what they do. They maybe don't have any words here. They maybe just have their company logo. They maybe just have like one word here. Um, your LinkedIn profile is the ability for you to build your own brand. If you're working at a company, it's not your own, totally fine. I'm doing that. So I build my own brand by, in this case, uh, talking to sales reps. I can learn more from salespeople, and then I can go be better as a sales rep at my job. That's what LinkedIn has done for me. That's probably the genesis of why I've done this webinar and why I really am engaged with everything here. Call to actions here. This is a custom call to action, right? You can go to your profile page here and add a custom button. You can add buttons, right? These buttons down here, or you can add a link. In this case, it's a link to my newsletter, right? And then you can kind of save it. Most people actually don't have anything here. Um, so the more filled out, the more that people their eyes. Like when you land on a page, you're probably going to go here to then the headline, like name and headline. That's usually where people usually read left to right, top down. So people will scan up here and take a look. So you could see that this is really important. And if you do a good job at this, it will funnel them down into more of your profile. Personally, I think the about section is the number one place. Yes, people say storytell. What does that really mean? Like being human, like absolutely human. Like what is it that you do? Why are you doing it in the most human way possible? I've seen people do like biographies. I've seen people write in third person. Very interesting take. I don't love that. I think unless you're like a big time, business mogul or follow like have a big influencing, even then I don't really love it. I think that I would coach all those people, whether you're Elon Musk or anything, to write in first person. I think it's the power of LinkedIn. People want to connect with people, even if you have somebody running your account. Um, the featured section is great, right? This is like healthy real estate. These could be posts like, okay, Michael himself, the guy I'm visiting, right? Like if I'm going to visit a lead, he's featuring these articles. In this case, they're posts. They could be websites. You can do call to action to a Calendly link here. And obviously you can add your featured section here. If you don't have a featured section, then you can come up here into, I believe it's right here in the pencil, and you can jump into, sorry, I think it's actually in resources here. Add custom button. No, it's in the profile section, excuse me. Been a little while since I've done that, so I'm glad to walk it through. It's in the profile section. So you can come to here, the profile section, go to recommended, and then you can add featured section. You can add a bunch of things, but the featured section is great real estate for people to find out more. So in short, I am a high believer in this square. If there's one thing you're going to do today, it's going to be to optimize this square on your LinkedIn. That's the number one thing I would focus on. Have fun with it, be a human, but be digestible, clear, and concise and to the point. Have fun with the about section. You don't have to try too hard. And then, if you have, you want to link to your social proof, company website, Calendly link, there's your featured section. You can see here, me, like I have a photo here so people can get to know a little bit about me, right? I'm wearing the same shirt in this picture as I am in this webinar. So it tells me I need to probably get into fashion or buy new shirts. Um, Anyways, so that's kind of the profile optimization. Everything else kind of self-explanatory. You just want to make sure you have it, right? Like make sure your like dates add up. Make sure that it's in, chronological order. Um, feel free if people make it this far down. I think the recommendation space is awesome. It was bigger years ago, really big. I think it's still important, especially if you're trying to get hired. And as this is the number one thing that I probably take a look at and maybe do outreach to if I'm going to do reference checks. Or I'm just going to read about it, right? It saves me a lot of times like a hiring manager, of course. They're always going to probably be in your favor, but great to know that you have these, right? Like you should have a couple here. And so that's my thoughts on the profile section. It's really important. This call to action here is really, you can have fun with this. You can name this link. You don't have to say check out my newsletter. You have a certain character limit here, but you can say things like, free guide, free audit of X, whatever call to action you want to put here, but just make sure that you have this call to action. Again, optimize the square. Okay, I think I've said that enough. Okay, great. So like going back to my webinar, right? Like things that you guys are going to learn today, exclusive insights from a LinkedIn expert. Yes, crafting personalized and engaging messages. Awesome. So let's talk about messaging. Messaging is, I actually did a lead magnet on this, a guide. Um, so I'll talk to this. Essentially, where I've had a lot of like where I've been able to help people is essentially on the thought of like, yes, ChatGPT, yes, people's inboxes are full. I don't really know what that means, by the way. I mean, I know what it means, but people used to say the same thing about cold calling and email, like it's dead, or too many people's phone numbers are getting blown up. But if you've been in sales, you've done outreach, it could be that one phone call answered by that busy person on a great day, timing and the stars align, and you've done a great job of ice breaking, bypassing the objection, and hit them with a good hook and essentially a call to action. Like it can lead to a big change for you. So I approach messaging with that same kind of naive mindset, if you will, but it's what's really allowed me to sustain and have fun with sales. Smile, have fun with this. Use now more than ever is a time to really think about, hey, would this work? Would my partner answer this? Would my mom answer this? Would my mom understand this? Is a great, way to optimize your profile, optimize your messaging. It should be that simple to where people can really understand. Anyway, so that's kind of my philosophy. Be short, clear, use messaging that resonates with your prospect. Yeah, I don't think people really want to read novels. I only do like quote unquote novels, which would be longer form context. And you'll see it here. I'll show you in a little bit. If I have pretty good social proof or if the client I'm representing has a pretty good niche audience. So what do I mean here? Hopefully you can see my screen here, but this is in a real estate space, right? This is what I would consider a longer form. I wouldn't say it's quite a novel, but it's a longer form. Like if you read that, your eyes might hurt a bit, right? Good to connect. I work with title companies, things that, that do closings on commercial properties, right? This is a longer form, but because of the cool offering that this client has in the value prop, saw really good results in more longer form and explaining more about how they can help. As you can see here, yep, on the right contact, I'd like to discuss further, right? Great. Shorter form stuff here, right? As you're getting into it, this is for SEO and digital marketing company. I help businesses boost their SEO rankings with targeted strategies like advanced keyword research and link building, driving more traffic and leads. Would love to explore how I can benefit your business, right? In my opinion, like this was back in September. I would even change that to this day of like boost, right? That's become a very ChatGPT-esque word. So you have to be careful and like study ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT what it would say for the messaging and make sure you're correcting it. Like do the almost take the core message or value of the message that ChatGPT is putting together, then add your, I don't want to say slang, but your own words, your own personality to it. This was a follow-up to that message, right? So this first message didn't get a response. And then I followed up with like how we're helping improve companies and specifically like what we can do to drive more revenue. Can I share a case study? I'll take a look if you want to send it. Case studies are great. Free audits are awesome. Those kind of things. I also shared more. You can see here, this is a very plain document. I keep it plain intentionally. Like this could have thousands of messages here, but I like to like A/B test a bunch of messages. And right now, maybe C testing these three. I've been testing these three. I'm in staffing, so you're gonna see they have a staffing focus to them. Hey, Name, thanks for connecting. Curious how is the hiring strategy managed for you and your team? Do you oversee it, or is there another contact handling it? I love this because it's straight to the point. It's not super high pressure. It's low pressure. But I'm getting to it. And if it's not them, it could be somebody else. You'll get a yes, no, or you'll get the other person's name. Number two doesn't do that, right? Just what's your hand in the hiring strategy? So that leaves an open-ended question. It's a little bit more of a thorough response, right? They're going to have to write something longer than just yes or no. What I mean by thorough response, just keep that in mind. Glad to connect. Name. How's Q4 going? I've helped staff innovative data scientists and at Salesforce, Microsoft Cloudflare, open and connecting next week. Okay. But love three. Three is I'm basically using Salesforce, Microsoft, and Cloudflare. What I'm doing here is I'm going after an enterprise level client. So you hit wait, and specifically tech enterprise. There's some human flair to this, which like how's Q4 going? I've helped staff innovative data scientists, right? Specific. So if data science is a need for theirs, maybe there's ways that I could tell I'm triggering on LinkedIn. And so these are the three messages that I found. I would say have fun with these three. They're short, sweet, concise. This is the first message that I'll send. Typical sequencing that I do on LinkedIn, like I always do the connection request with no note. Why? Because I'm typically doing it at scale. Like I'm reaching out to multiple people, and I'm leveraging a tool, which I'll get to. Um, so yeah, I lean into what makes sense at scale. If I'm going to do even more focused targeting, like into a group, um, and do a little bit more manual work, then I'll include a message in the connection request if it makes sense. Maybe I met them at a conference. We have actually met in person before in real life. Uh, or there's something, maybe alumni, like there's some bridge there that I think makes sense to put in the connection, but it's a human touch. I don't do it's great to connect because we're both sales reps. I mean, I've done that, tried that. The etiquette on LinkedIn is that people just accept. And that's the beauty of it. So I don't worry too much about connection notes. You'll get different schools of thought on all of this. Obviously, this is my philosophy, and so I'm sticking to it. But yeah, it's worked really well for me. I'll get to numbers and data later as to like how I'm doing with all this. Because I'm broad stroking right now, and the only thing I've really said is I've helped 40 clients. So I'll get into like how I've actually helped, what my weekly numbers look like on LinkedIn with this same type of messaging sequencing. I didn't do like a big slide here on sequencing because it's really simple. I do a connection request to a liking, or I used to do liking posts a lot, but LinkedIn's changed a lot into, personal, kind of like a Facebook. So I do connection request to viewing profile to message number one to one follow message. If they don't accept, I do view profile. I might do an in-mail, which we'll get to in-mails. Typically don't though. I'll view their profile, then I'll wait like five days, see if they accept. I don't really care as much about the people that haven't accept because my assumption, which is very, very true, backed by just data of this, is that they may not even use LinkedIn. That's how much people just accept on LinkedIn today, especially if you're targeting like a less, again, you're targeting like an IC. We're not targeting like or, we're targeting ICs to execs, but they're not getting like tons of connection requests like an influencer is. So just keep that in mind. Let's see here. More messaging piece. And I can send this to you all, whoever's interested. On the core messages, right? You can see here. Here it is. Hey, Melissa, saw your post on diversity and inclusion, a cause I care a ton about. Would you have 15 minutes this week? Right? Short, sweet, to the point. This isn't fluff. And I would say I'm highly, highly against fluff here. This is something you actually care about that's humanizing to do outreach to people. So we're now taking out the business of always like, hey, how's Q4 going? Like, what's your hand in the strategy? I love the like, you've caught something. Again, this is a little trickier to do at scale, but there's ways that you could obviously scrape and take a look at like people that are part of different groups, and you can do outreach to specific groups. We'll get to Sales Navigator in a bit here. Um, but I love this. It works really well. I've had high acceptance rates on these, or sorry, response rates. Typically my acceptance rate on LinkedIn is north of 55%. So that goes into not, just sending the connection request. I do think an optimized profile helps with that because I've noticed I'd send a connection request and people will then check my profile, then they accept. I think that's actually more important than doing a note. So the optimization of profile matters. If you don't have anything going on in your profile, people wonder who this is to connect, right? Obviously, if you don't have a profile picture, people will think it's spam or and not even it could be a bot. But yeah, this messaging works great. It works because it's hitting all the main components of what I think is successful outreach. It's short, clear, concise. It's clear and clear introduction, gets right to the point, asks an engaging question, requests a clear call to action. So here's the formula, right? Hey, first name, saw your post, saw your comment, like, group. Again, at scale, you're going to be able to use, typically you can use groups. You can't use posts, you can't use comments, you can't use like at scale. So I leverage groups, which is why I was usually probably looking at a diversity inclusion group that I'm a part of, that I care about. right? And that's the shared interest in whatever that group is. It's a cause I care, so obviously the rest is kind of self-explanatory. On to the next message, right? This is a little bit more of a hard-hitting thing. This would be a more targeted approach. So two things that work really well on LinkedIn, keeping it the humanizing, right, message that resonates really well with people. And number two is figuring out your target, what punches weight the best with social proof. I'm sure you've heard that before. That's the truth, right? So we'll get to this on Sales Navigator, but you essentially, if you're brand new to a company, you want to ask and check and speak to your best social proofs and wherever that punches weight. So if you've been supporting tech enterprise or you've had great social proofs, your company's had great social proofs at tech enterprise, it's now easier for you to punch weight with a tech enterprise uh, client. Obviously, that's probably self-explanatory, but I didn't know that when I was starting out in sales too. I was just kind of like, how am I going to get an email and then what am I going to say? Leverage the social proof because it's a way to gain credibility. And I'm just talking about pure cold outreach here, of course. So this one's obviously comes off a little bit more salesy, but it's to the point of like, hey, thanks for connecting. Have you thought about, cutting your payroll costs by 35 to 46% this quarter? We just helped a similar company achieve this. Do you have 15, I don't like the reason why this reads a little bit vague is because I'm doing it at scale. And I know that a large majority of people that are on LinkedIn are doing things at scale. I try to stay away from dynamic placeholders, which we'll get to, including names, but I do leverage the name, pretty much the only one I leverage. Meaning, like if you're using an automation tool and you are, using the dynamic placeholders, there's a couple different ones that you can use. I only use the name one. So yeah, I think this one works great because it cuts through and it gets right to the point. So it also firmographic details matter. If you're reaching out to C-level, like they're going to want you to get to it even more. So I love this approach. Have you considered specific benefit, right? In this case, it could be reducing costs, increasing efficiency by X% this quarter. We recently helped a similar company achieve this. DF15, might be a good enough hook to pique curiosity to know which company and so it's just a hooking exercise to really, you could say companies here, you could kind of keep it close to the chest and see if it gets a good response. Longer form here. Longer form makes a lot of sense if you're targeting, a specific niche and you feel like your product might be niche, then you might have to explain a little bit more. This might, especially if your product's a little bit more intangible, it's like coaching or service based, you might have to go a little bit more wordy in the outreach. Again, these are all the first messages. So yeah, I'm happy to send this to you guys. The follow-up messages, I don't spend too much time worrying about follow-up message. I know there's a lot of schools of thought here as to like, oh, should you say following up or circling back? I've seen those. Personally, I don't overthink that too much. I think if you're doing follow-up, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm following up, I'm circling back. And so I kind of stick to that. So yeah, that's my messaging. Messaging's again, short, clear, concise, be yourself, keep it humanizing and really, if you're going to be vague, be even more humanizing. Think about things you can say that scale, that's outside of just work. People will appreciate that. I think number two would be if you're going to do something more targeted, have a great social proof that works. If you don't have a social proof that works, be more targeted and talk about what your product does specifically for that audience, even if you haven't, socially or you don't have that social proof yet. You don't have to state that. You could just state what you do and say it more confident, the more people will believe it. And because it's true, can't always have wins underneath your belt when you're starting out, especially for those founders out there. Awesome. So let's take a look at Sales Navigator here. Um, let's see. Sales Navigator, right? The ins and outs of Sales Navigator. So obviously, if you don't have Sales Navigator, you're limited to the search feature here. So in this case, if you're going after account managers, right? You can do people. You're gonna have to be really good at Boolean, although you don't have to be as good anymore thanks to ChatGPT. And tech and sales. Right, so I'm going after account managers in tech and sales. Right, limited the results to 369. Maybe I just want second connections. right? Pretty self-explanatory. And then how you're going to rule people out is, and not, right? So we're going to go from 369 to 39,000, right? So we just cut out the medical and you get more consolidated list. Obviously, LinkedIn's pushing everyone to Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator's kind of, it gives you more triggers, right? More things you can leverage here. My whole philosophy on Sales Navigator, what I love is that obviously it's a LinkedIn tool, so they're going to continue to optimize it, right? They're going to continue to add features to it that makes sense to help people so that they buy more Sales Navigator. LinkedIn is. But I look at this as like, okay, there's obvious like filtering here. These are all obvious filters right in front of us. But how can you creatively think of these filters to really help you? The number one piece of advice that I believe Sales Navigator gives, where I've had tons of success, is going to be in the past company up here. So if I'm a brand new rep, I'm at a company and I'm wondering how to use LinkedIn, I'm going to have maybe I have a list, but the other thing I'm going to target is, okay, who have we done business with, right? So in this case, let's say we have done business with Microsoft. Great. Past company, Microsoft. That means all of the people here, they previously worked at Microsoft. Um, and then you can obviously go into filtering from here, right? Like more self-explanatory. What I'll say is, if you're now everyone that's worked at Microsoft, you now have social proof that works really well. So let's say like I'm in staffing and we supported Microsoft, and I know we've done A, B, C, D, E, F, G type social proofs that are really exciting, really cutting edge, and it helped an enterprise level client. Boy, oh boy, does that punch weight. I can now do outreach to all these people at scale and say, hey, great to connect. Saw you previously worked in Microsoft. We were a partner there. We helped with X, Y, or A, B, C, or D. You can make it short, sweet, depending on which one. You could pick one. You could A/B test between the two in different campaigns. And I thought it might make sense to connect based on, um, these results. Are you open to a conversation next Thursday at 12? Right. Of course, the things we're missing here is like, who are you targeting now? Right. So that that they previously worked at Microsoft, but like, who do you target? So like, let's say we target like chief staffs. It's going to be a pretty small list, right? 569, right? Because I'm targeting all chief of staffs that have previously worked at Microsoft that are now like this one. This person here is obviously working at a different. Let's do somebody. Oops. Let's take a look at Jennifer Spencer, right? So she's now working at this company, Old Dehaz, and was previously at Microsoft, right? So I think an easy icebreaker for her is like, I'm a partner with Microsoft. We've done a lot of business. Sounds like looks like you've worked there too. Thought it'd be great to connect as we help chief of staff, we help companies achieve X, Y, and Z. You can also do this based on titles, previous titles as well, as you saw down here, past job title. So if you've helped, like if you're the social proof for the companies you're working at has been great for change managers or program managers or CEOs. You help CEOs a lot. You can go to past job title. Obviously, with CEOs, are probably currently a CEO as well. But let's say you help managers. You can go to past job title as a manager, and maybe they're now a director. Maybe they're down back into an individual contributor. If you've helped sales reps in the past, or currently, you can do that as past job title. Again, these two features, past company, past job title, is amazing. It just punches weight to be like, I've helped these titles, or I've helped people we've partnered with this company before. It holds a lot of weight. And so like I'll pull a list just from like this past company, scrape it, and then I'll do a little bit more filtering, right? Of course, the post on LinkedIn is huge. It's an easy indicator for like who's definitely got the lights on, if you will, using LinkedIn. I love that feature, especially if you have a big list. We just went from 569 to 100. So it got down pretty narrow here, which can be great. But you now know these are probably pretty hot leads in terms of who's actually using LinkedIn, how they're using it well. Of course, there's other features here too that are a little bit more self-explanatory, but I think these two, my best tips on Sales Navigator, are to leverage the past job title and the past company that they've worked for. Number two, best thing I've done on Sales Navigator, I recognize this. The data that you're using here is everything. It's the holy grail. So you want this data to be extremely clean. So using the same search, past company Microsoft, we're going after chief of staffs and their current job title, right? Let's say I only want people in the United States, right? Now I'm going to start excluding. Okay, so like you only did the United States, but I'm going to exclude like California, exclude New York, exclude. But what am I getting at here? So if you clear the search, right, and we kind of start over, let's say we have a bigger, let's say we only want to go after the sales industry. Excuse me. Let's say again, in this case, chiropractor, right? You want to start excluding like optometrist, right? That's huge. The exclusions are so important to really get your list more clean because these filters are only as good as the technology is. And so I do exclusions. I used to only do inclusions, and that really didn't get my data as clear as possible. The quirky thing is with Sales Navigator is sometimes you have the ability to exclude, and then other time, or like, sometimes you have the ability to type in your own as well. Like for instance, for industry, like if I type sales and hit enter, it won't go through, right? But if I'm going to go current job title and I'm like, okay, vice president, which is also a good tip, you want to think of every title that they could call themselves. Of course, in this case, for vice presidents, there's probably two, but put them all, right? But like if I type VP, it doesn't come up. If I click enter, it now comes up and we'll change the search result. So there's a VP right there. Maybe you're going to put VP dot, like make sure you're entering in as many as you possibly can. Maybe you don't want senior vice president. So you enter it, you put no. Senior, so like the job title, because you have the ability to enter in your own titles, have so much focus here to basically type in every type of title you think it can be. So have fun with that. People might even call themselves fractional VPs now. Can't type today. So every VP that you can possibly get a hold of and just makes the data even more clean. So inclusions, exclusions, really important. And then of course, if you can, like I throw it all into like a Boolean search too. And the filtering over here is done really well. I just focus on even more than not, like not senior vice president, you know, and just to clean it up even more. I take out more here just to make sure that I'm getting even more narrow. So as you can see, I get a little bit analytical on and obsessive on just how to clean the data. That's really important. Of course, like I said earlier, there's groups here that you can target. Add a group, right? Like I'm part of lead generation groups. Boom. This is great. You can just do lead generation groups. Uh, maybe it's, they've worked at a past company. I'm already down to 106, so I can't really filter this much more, but you kind of get the point. It's the best way. I just see people kind of go through this and they just put in their target audience. They don't include exclusions. They don't think creatively as to like, oh, they might call themselves multiple different things. If you need help with this, think of like every type of title via ChatGPT to tell you what a VP might title himself as vice president, which might seem kind of funny. Again, VP is maybe not the best example, but like use ChatGPT to like fact check you on it because it'll search the web. Yeah, and so we're kind of down to the finish line here, and I just want to say thank you all so much for tuning into this. It's there's a lot here, a lot to unpack. I know I mentioned a tool at the end. I want to talk to you a little bit about the tool that I'm actually building and been using. It's called Outreach AI. You can come check us out at outreachai.co. We're a Chrome extension. We're super easy to use. Of course, that's my style, simplicity, to the point. As you can see here, I'll show you a little demo. We're actually just about to launch. Then it's been in internal testing, so you can come see that. But essentially, it's like looking at your LinkedIn profile with a sidebar of Outreach AI on the side. And right now, we're only compatible with just LinkedIn basic searches. And so you can do your search kind of like I do here. You want to get in listicle format. So you click people, and once you have your list of people and you do all your filtering, you can essentially come over to the sidebar, click leads, hit create in the top, name the lead list, input how many you'd like to reach out to, click create. It'll take 30 to maybe a minute and a half, depending on how many people you put in here. Again, it's going to scrape now 10 people. It's going to go top down in sequential order. So top down. Once it does that, you can come back to your lead list. You can keep surfing. You're good now. And you can kind of refresh. And once you're done, you can, once it gets to 100%, you can come over here, create a campaign, choose the lead list that you like, and now you can start sequencing. So we always start with the connection request because that's my philosophy, kind of hard coded it in that way. You get much more functionality out of LinkedIn when you do it this way. And then you can do more actions. The successful side means they've accepted, unsuccessful means they haven't accepted yet. So again, my focus is much more on the successful side. As you can see here, we have messaging here. You can generate with AI, you can improve with AI. We have some dynamic placeholders, like I mentioned. Uh, you can add waiting times, you can like posts. Uh, and of course, on the unsuccessful side, you can do some things too. So I'm really excited about this. It's really gonna help you save a lot of time in terms of your outreach. And yeah, I hope you'll check us out and let me know if you're interested. We do also have like a analytics tab, so you can kind of follow along, right? So this is your total analytics. This is each campaign. As you can see, I ran a lot here. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to roll that out and want to thank you all so much for joining this webinar. It was great to speak with you and connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, thanks so much.